Hey guys, welcome back to a new episode of Dev Drawer. Based on popular demand, we had one comment and a few private messages from my last video where I asked you whether we should do a C# MVC or do a Laravel project, Laravel project 1. So we're going to be going into how to install Laravel today, and then as the series progresses more, we'll do more and more with it. But today we're going to kind of get the basics. There's a few prerequisites that you need in order to install Laravel, and if you want to have your server set up the way that I have it right now, you can kind of recreate these steps in WAMP. You won't be able to use SSH, so that's why I'm doing it in our server that we built in a previous video. If you want to see how to build the server that I built using VirtualBox, I'll put a link down to it in below, or use one of the call out cards right now, so that you can see where you can set up your server the same way that we have it right now. I believe we are using 18.04 for Ubuntu for our server. I know 20 point something just recently came out, but I haven't had a chance to upgrade this server yet, so we're still using 18.04 on this one. So just keep that in mind. If you have a newer server, it'll probably work, it most likely will work the same way, but this one will be using that server. So let's go ahead and open up Laravel's website. So I think it's laravel.com, and we're going to switch over to the documentation. So let's go to the documentation window, and I know version 8 is out. I haven't done a lot of stuff in version 8, so I don't know if I'm at the place where I can officially give you a tutorial on it. So we're going to switch over to documentation for version 7. Version 7 and 8 is something you can upgrade to from 7 to 8. I just haven't had the chance to kind of get in there and play around with 8 too much. I know it uses Tailwind CSS. It also uses Livewire, stuff like this. So those things I'm not too familiar with. So this tutorial will be kind of going over how to build something in Laravel 7, incorporating Bootstrap into it, how to create authentication, create like a simple MVC for it. But that's kind of where we're going to be at with this tutorial. So let's go ahead and get started by first taking a look at the server requirements. We currently have 7.4 on this server, so we don't have to worry about PHP, and all of the extensions should be enabled for us. And then we have to install Composer, or install Laravel using Composer. So I'm going to show you how to install Composer on your server, how to connect to it with SSH, how to install Node and NPM, so that we can utilize all of those things in a future tutorial. So this is going to be kind of setting up those prerequisites and getting to that landing page for Laravel, for us to be able to get started with the next part of this project. So before I get too far into it, if you like this kind of video, definitely hit the thumbs up, subscribe to the channel. I've gotten a lot of subscribers recently, and I'm hoping that the number will keep going up. So if you haven't subscribed and you're watching this video, I have a lot of other content very similar to this, and then over the next few weeks we're going to be going over Laravel development. So make sure you subscribe in order to see those videos that are coming up. So one of the first things that we're going to do is connect to our server using SSH. If you haven't never connected to your server with SSH, basically it's a terminal command line where you can run commands directly inside of the terminal window, whether it's from a command prompt, PowerShell, directly inside of Visual Studio, which is how we'll be doing it. But basically it's a direct connection to your server that you can do command line stuff with. If you've never used SSH, you might not have it installed on your computer, especially if you're using a Windows computer. If you're using a Windows computer, you need to allow SSH, basically install the add-on for Windows. I can't remember exactly where you can go to get that. I'll put a description, put something in the description that'll tell you where you need to go. But essentially, once you have SSH installed on your Windows machine, you can go to your system properties by hitting the Windows key and the pause button, and then go to Advanced System Settings. Open up your environmental variables, and then add a path directly to that SSH. And then once you get done doing that, you can open up a terminal over here, type in SSH, and it'll show you the variables that you can do with it. But essentially, in order to use SSH, you need to have it installed on your Windows machine. I'm not going to go into detail of how to do that because it's pretty self-explanatory. Just basically make sure you have it on your system, add it to your paths file, and then it's available to you. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to, inside of Visual Studio, we're going to open up a new terminal, and then from here we're going to use SSH. So if you want to confirm whether or not you have SSH, you can essentially type in SSH -v, and then if you see something like this, that confirms that you do have it, which is basically just telling you the usage that you have that you can do with it. And I don't think it was actually a V, I think it needs to be version. But if you type in SSH, it's going to tell you whether or not this command can be found. If it can be found, it'll do something like this. If it can't be found, then you need to install it. Now that we have SSH, we know that it's installed, it's running on our machine. There's another thing that I currently have installed on the server that wasn't part of my tutorial, but I installed Samba. Samba allows you to connect your Linux servers. You can create a shared folder and then share it with your Windows machine, which is this right over here. Basically, it's basically a Windows share where you just type in the IP address and then the share name that you gave it. I will give a link to where you can find information about creating a Samba drive. So you won't be able to do exactly what I'm doing until you get that part done. It's pretty easy to do. You just go in there, you install Samba on your server, you create your shared folder, and then you just map it to your Windows machine, which I'll describe that in the description. And then you can open up that folder inside of your Visual Studio Code like we have here. So right now we just have a simple HTML file, which you can see over here. This is just the server homepage, and it's just the text over here for the server homepage. And now that we have where we're connected to the server through the file system, we're connected to it through SSH, now we can actually start kind of going in and doing the work and installing Composer, Node, npm, which is going to be required for this project as well. So the first thing we want to do is install Composer. So we're going to do sudo apt install Composer. Oh wait, it kicked me out. Hold on. Oh yeah, I got to connect to the SSH first. Hold on, let me clear this out. So whenever you want to connect to your server, you got to run SSH, your username, which is devdrawer for this server, at the IP address, which is 192.168.0.33, which is a dummy server that I've created for this environment. So it's secure enough where I can push it out. So let's go ahead and run that, and then you type in your password, and now once you get to this screen, you are connected to your server. So now we can run the sudo apt install Composer. So we're going to do sudo apt install Composer, and then we're going to type in our password. Since we typed in sudo, we're going to go ahead and hit yes on this and just let it run through the installation. Shouldn't take too long, just a few seconds to do it. And then once you have Composer installed, you can do Composer -v and make sure that it's installed. So now we see all of the other stuff. Well, it's capital V. So, but you get the point. So we can do -version or capital V, and it'll give us the version. Let's see, Composer capital V. There we go. That's what I'm looking for. So it was installed. We got 1.10.1. So let's clear this out. And now we're going to install Node as well. So we're going to do sudo apt install node.js. Then again, type in the password. It's going to run through, hit yes. It's going to start its installation. Should only take a few seconds again. And then you can confirm that as well using -v. So we're going to do node -v. And we got 10.19.0. Now the next thing we want to install is npm. So let's do sudo apt install npm, and it's going to go through the whole thing again. And just a few seconds later, we should be able to run the command npm -v to make sure that we have the correct version installed. So while we're waiting, I'm going to switch back over to the Laravel installation page. And then we're just going to wait for it to get finished, and then we're going to actually install Composer, or we're going to install Laravel using Composer. Okay, now that we have we've installed all of the prerequisites that we're going to need for this Laravel installation, let's go ahead and spin up a virtual server. So in one of my previous videos, it'll either be in a call out or a link in the description. I showed you how to use this batch file in order to create a virtual host very easily inside of your server. So I'm going to go ahead and do that now. And if you watch up here, we have our HTML folder and test local, which is a WordPress site that we had set up previously on a different video. But if we type in sudo virtual host create, and we're just going to call this from laravel.local, and we're going to go ahead and run that, and as you can see over here, it created the laravel.local folder with our info file in here, and it's located at Laravel local inside of the folder system, and we can access this URL here. So I'm going to go ahead and edit my host file in order to make that laravel.local a URL that I can access. So I went off screen and edited the host file just because I have client servers that we run locally. So I couldn't really show that here, but essentially if you know how to edit your host file, or if you've gotten this far in web dev, you should know how to edit your host file in order to point it to a local subdomain or a local domain. So I've already edited it. Now we should be able to go to laravel.local and show it up with this, where we have the PHP info file, which represents the PHP info file here. So right now we're not going to have permissions to be able to delete this file, so we're going to have to add those permissions in there, in which we're going to have to add these anyway for Laravel, just for the Bootstrap and the storage folders. So let's do sudo ch own, then we're going to do -r, and then I'm going to put in my username, so devdrawer. This will be different for your username. And then we're going to say /var www Laravel local. And now with this saved, we should be able to come over here and click delete. And we're just going to delete it off. So right now, the difference between what this is and the www data is that we're accessing some of these folders or files at a system level, and then some of them are going to be accessed at a browser level. So right now we're doing the system level stuff first, so let's go ahead and just get started using this as the owner, which is my username. Whenever we get ready to start running some of the commands for Laravel itself, we're going to be running them as the www data user, so we'll have to add that ownership as well. So first thing we want to do is go ahead and start installing Laravel. And if you look at the Laravel installer, let me make sure y'all can see that. Okay, so if you just go over here and copy this, you're going to paste it into this window, but first we need to cd into that var www Laravel local folder. So we're going to do cd /var /www /Laravel local. And now we're going to run Composer and have it go through the process of installing Laravel for us, and then we're going to use Composer again to create a new Laravel site. So let's go ahead and paste in Composer global require Laravel installer, and let's run it. And this is going to take a little bit of time, so I'm going to go ahead and speed up the video so that we can see it later. Okay, so now Composer has installed Laravel requirement for the Laravel installer. So now we're going to type in, if we scroll down a little bit further on the page, we're not going to use the Laravel new blog just because I'm used to doing everything in Composer, so I like to keep everything there. But you can use Laravel new blog. You're just going to have to set this information before you can use the command Laravel. For right now, I'm just going to continue using Composer. So we're going to do Composer create project, and then we're going to go to prefer distribution Laravel colon, and where's this at? There. And then we're just going to do 7.0, and we want to install it in the current folder. That's why we cd'd into Laravel local. So now we should be able to run this command, and apparently I need to update my Composer version. but we should be able to install the Laravel folder system inside of our Laravel local folder. Okay, so Laravel is now installed. As you can see over here, all of the files have been populated. So if we refresh this now, we can see that it is all of the files have been installed. One thing that you need to do whenever you set up Laravel is that you need to go in there based on their configuration here. You need to make it where the root of this points to the public HTML folder. So I'm going to show you how to do that now. Let me see here. Sorry, I'm just going through some of my documentation in order to make sure I get it right. And we're going to use the terminal editor for this as well. Inside of your terminal, we're going to run the following commands. So we're going to cd into our etc Apache 2 sites available directory, if I can spell available correctly, there. And then inside of this, we're going to sudo nano, and the name of the file that gets generated for your configuration is going to be the domain name.config. So we're going to do laravel.local.conf and enter the password since I'm using sudo. And then essentially the only thing we need to do over here is we're going to point this to do /public, and then we're going to point this to also be /public. Now once you get done editing in Nano, you hit Control O to overwrite it, and then Control X to exit it. And then once you have this configuration done, you need to restart your Apache service. So we're going to do sudo service Apache 2 restart. And now we should be able to open this up again, and it points us to the Laravel public site. So this is going to be an error that you get because we need to set up the permissions for the www user, which I was telling you about earlier. So let's go ahead and set up that now. So first thing we need to do is let's cd back into our var www Laravel Laravel local. Let's see. So, oh, that's because I didn't have the slash in front of it. There we go. Okay, so you don't have to do that in order to do this, but I just like to be back in this folder so I don't accidentally stay in the folder that I'm in whenever I go to run any of the other commands. So we're going to run a sudo ch own -r www-data and then we're going to do var www Laravel, I don't know why I keep doing that, Laravel local, and now we should have some permissions. There's still some other things that we need to do. For example, if you look at the error here, it says that this specific folder cannot be written to, the permission is denied. So we need to give that specific folder as well as the other folders that they list inside of this storage and Bootstrap cache. We need to give both of those permissions to be able to run. So an easy way to do this is to kind of do like a blanket find. So we're going to do sudo find var www Laravel local, and then we're going to do -type f xec, and then we're going to do chmod 644 curly brackets, and you can just copy this. It's basically just changing the folder, the file system, or the folders and the files to 644, and then we're going to update them to 755, which is essentially very similar to the same command. It's just here we're going to change this to 755, and then over here instead of doing F we're going to do D. So the F stands for file, D stands for directory. So the files have 644, the directory is going to have 755. So we're going to run that, and then we need to change the group for the specific folders in order for them to be able to work. So we're going to do sudo ch group -r www data storage, and then Bootstrap. And this isn't Bootstrap like Twitter Bootstrap or the Bootstrap framework. It's actually the Bootstrap folder inside of your Laravel installation. See, Bootstrap cache. And then we're also going to run a sudo chmod -r, and then we're going to add the permissions that we want. So UG plus RWX storage, and then Bootstrap cache. Let me make sure I spelled all that right. Okay, so now if we go back to our Laravel.local and refresh, we see the Laravel landing page. So let's keep reading. We're not done yet. So we have to create a application key. So inside of here, we're going to run the Artisan command. Now remember how I told you we're going to be switching between users? Well, this is one of those times that we're going to switch between users. So I'm going in the terminal command, I'm going to push up a few times, and we're going to get to this, and I'm going to change this back to dev drawer, just because we want it to run the commands from this account rather than running it from the web server account. So right now we're just going to ch on that, and then I'm going to come back over here. Now we're going to run our PHP Artisan. Alright, so now we have our application key that was set successfully, and we can view it inside of here. We have our app key that's been set up. Eventually we're going to be changing some of the information inside of this. Right now I'm just going to leave it as it is so that you can kind of see how everything needs to work. So I'm going to switch this back over to, I guess we can leave it at the dev drawer right now, because we're going to be editing these files now. One thing that I want to show you right now, if we, y'all have seen in the past where I use this go live button. If we click on this right now, it's not going to open up the server the way you would expect it to. So as you can see here, it's just opening up the file system, but there is a way that you can run PHP files, which right now it's currently not able to. So inside of the application over here, live server, if you check here for the says live server for server-side pages like PHP, you click check here, it'll open you up to like a Chrome or Firefox add-on that you can add to your browser. I've already added it. Let me go ahead and get out of that. And essentially what we want to do is we're going to close out of Laravel.local for now. And we're going to copy this live server port IP address, and we're going to run our live web server extension. So we're going to hit live reload. We're going to type in that IP address, and then we're going to type in http://laravel.local. So what this is going to do, it's going to set up like a live reload script specifically on this using the browser. So anytime we make a change in our development window over here in Visual Studio, it's going to automatically add it, just like it would if you were running the server by itself. So let's go ahead and hit apply there, and now open up Laravel.local again, and nothing's changed because we haven't done anything to it. But what I want to show you is how to edit this file, and then I think that's where I'm going to end this tutorial since we have Laravel installed. So let's go ahead and go over there now. So we're going to go to the files, and then inside of your resources, views, we're going to have this welcome blade. This welcome.blade is the content that you see there. So if we want to edit it, so I'm just going to add the word test at the top and save it. Store it. Oh. Again, now we're using the website of it, so I got to switch this back to the www user there. As you can see, now it's added our test. So the reason why I'm switching back and forth is just because I don't really have this demo server set up to be to use different users in the www data versus the users that actually own the folders. So you can set up yours differently. It's just right now per this tutorial, it's not something that's super important. You just have to switch back and forth. So with the dev drawer, which is my user account, if I go to run something that I want the server to do, then I would need to run it as the dev drawer account. If I'm running the website to run something like, for example, the caching that just failed, I want it to run as the www data user. So just keep that in mind. You can do it where you're using one user for both of them, but because of the way I have my server set up right now, I don't have it set up with those permissions to be able to run that back and forth. So we can just switch. It's not too difficult. Once you get done with the application setup, you don't really need to use your user account anymore unless you want to go run another composer or maybe install something else to it that requires the server to do something. Everything else can be done inside the www data user because that's what's currently tied into this Samba share that we have. Okay, so going back to this, if we remove test, let's just delete this out of there, and then we look at our screen over here. Why is it not doing it? Okay, so I'm going to have to give this thing permissions again. It's looking for the storage folder, so should be able to run this and have that work. I don't know why that would not work. Okay, let's try it again. So we're going to save this. Okay, well, it's working now. This command here should have taken care of that, but maybe whenever I switched it between users, it took away that permission. So right now we're good where we're at. Just keep that. Maybe you have to run all of your server commands first, all of your, the other things that you need to install, run those all first and then set up the permissions. Maybe I did it in a different order, but as you can see here, it's actually working the way that it should be now. So it updates this whenever I go to remove text over here. So I'm going to go ahead and just page down through all of this, and we're just going to delete this to set it up as our own home page. Alright, so now you can see over here it's set up as the home page. The server is reacting with the changes that we are making. So everything so far so good. So let's go ahead and just make some different tweaks to it. So we're going to do Laravel, and then we're going to do dev drawer, just to have something different on there as well. Alright, so that is how you install Laravel, get your server up and running to handle Laravel, Composer, Node, NPM. We didn't do anything with Node and NPM yet, but whenever we go to install Bootstrap on it, we're going to use NPM. So it's important to have those on there. But I think for right now, I'm going to go ahead and call this video at where it is right now. Hopefully this helps you get started. We will be using this project for future things in the next coming weeks. So just be kind of on the lookout for our Laravel series. But I think for right now, that's it. If you like the video, smash the thumbs up for me. I like seeing those numbers go up. If you have any comments, if you can't get something to work, it may just be the way that I have my server set up. This isn't a server that I use very often, so it may actually be something that I'm showing you incorrectly on my server setup, which may make it work for me and not work for you. So if you have any issues with it, leave a comment and I'll try to respond out as much as I can. But in the meantime, I do appreciate you watching, and I will talk to you later.